Good afternoon. This is Steve Sanson and Deborah Vick.
Deborah, the banker Vick.
The banker Vick for Veterans in Politics. And I just want to let all the listeners know that today is a 2-hour special. We're going to have Conrad Hafen, the newly elected Justice of the Peace for Department 14. And then we're going to have Jennifer Barrier, a daughter of Buffalo Jim and author of The Life of Buffalo Jim Barrier. And then we're going to have Caroline Edwards, who's the Clark County School Board Trustee, District F. But before we go into that, I just want to let everybody know that Jim Jonas is not going to be here today. He's a little tied up. And Deborah is going to take his place. And then we're going to have Alicia Afton for the second hour of the show. Deborah, you have any rants today?
You know what? What's happening with all this tax talk? Because that's all that's going on out there is talk.
Well, I know the president is going to sign this. Probably already signed the bill doing those 2-year tax extensions for those. What was it? Tax extensions or tax relief for those people
extensions
that make all that money and compromise to get the unemployment benefits for another 13 months.
Yeah.
13 months, yeah.
Something like that. And then also the child credit as well.
So that's politics for you, you know?
Talk.
I don't know. And then we have the Don't Ask, Don't Tell that's going before the president to sign off on. So,
Steve, how does something like that resurface?
Well, you know what? The president has to get all these agendas out the way before the new Congress takes over in January.
So is he trying to clean up? Or put his mark on things?
Because we have 60 new, I think it's 60 new members of the House, and they're all Republican. So he's not going to get anything passed with them. So he's got to speed things up and get everything out the way. So that's one of the things. But you know what? This Don't Ask, Don't Tell. You know, it's for gays in the military to be open and express themselves without getting any trouble.
Now, Steve, you're a Marine. Are you even supposed to express yourself in the military?
Well, you know what? We have separate. This thing, what I don't understand, they say that homosexuality is something that you're born with.
So they say.
Okay, and that's I understand that. But the thing that I'm trying to relate in my head, we have men and women in separate quarters in the military because men like women and women like men.
Right.
And in this incident, it's women like women and men like men. So shouldn't we separate them as well, put them in separate quarters too, like we do with the men and the women?
Well, why don't you answer that? You were the one in the bunking with these guys.
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking because I get excited when I see women. So I figure that if I like the same sex, when I get excited if I see another man, if that's the case, wouldn't that make sense to you?
I have no clue. I'm a woman.
I have nothing against homosexuality, but I just want to figure out how they're gonna how they gonna work that out? How they gonna work the showers out? How they gonna work the bunks out? Because if you like. If you're a guy and you like men and I'm a guy, I'll probably have a little problem with you sharing the same.
So are you suggesting that they put these men in the women bunk?
You know what? I think that they should put the women in the men bunk too. They should just put everybody put everybody together.
Lordy.
I want to have, if I was in the military and I want a room with a woman.
I don't think they'd let you back in.
I want a room with a woman. What's wrong with that?
Oh, many levels.
See that's the thing we have to work out. But without
how about focus on what they're there for versus all the other?
Well, there's a lot of downtime too, So.
No, I don't. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, there's a lot of downtime.
Okay. So separate playgrounds.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think they worked out the logistics yet. I think they need to work out the logistics.
We'll find out.
I mean, I have no problem with it. I just work the logistics out.
Right.
That's all I gotta say.
There you go.
And I don't know how they're gonna do that.
I have no clue.
Maybe Conrad Hafen could help us out with that.
Maybe so.
Yeah, he's a deputy district attorney right now. I mean, not deputy district attorney. Sorry, deputy attorney general, which is a little higher than the DA. So I just downgraded him. Conrad, how you doing? You have anything else, Deborah?
No, the first topic was pretty much it. I can go on and on about other things, but that's it for now.
All right. Well, let's talk to Conrad Hafen. Conrad, first of all, congratulations to you.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that.
And could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been an attorney for 21 years. 17 of those 21 years, I've worked as a prosecutor. I was the chief deputy district attorney in Humboldt County for 10 years, and then in 2003, Brian Sandoval asked me to come back to Las Vegas and start up the public integrity unit.
What does that mean, public integrity?
It's a unit where we focused on prosecuting politicians and state employees for corruption. And
so you're the person nobody likes, huh?
Well, at least the corrupt politicians.
Okay.
And so I did that for 2 years, and then Brian promoted me to be the chief deputy attorney general for the state over the criminal division. And so I've been in that capacity for the last 5 years.
Wow. Conrad, it's just amazing how much money did you spend to get elected?
Approximately $2,100.
Your opponent spent how much?
I haven't looked at his total. I think it's over 90,000.
Over 90,000.
I think so.
Wow.
Wow,
that's a huge difference there.
I mean, that right there is a congratulations all by itself.
Well, thank you.
As a banker, here you go.
So you must be a Republican then, since you're so frugal. You make that $2,100 go a long way.
I am. More importantly, though, I'm a conservative. So
you wanna tell us how you did it?
Well, just go to a lot of events. I put up some 8-foot signs at strategic locations here in the valley. I had a Facebook page and advertised on Facebook.
How many fans did you get up there?
You mean on Facebook?
Correct.
Well, the way the Facebook worked is I used it more of an advertisement, so that when people got on their Facebooks, my ad would come up on theirs.
Okay, so you did
one of those. So on those ads that came up,
on the side,
we had about 1.3 million hits.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
and then I would only pay for three times a day when people clicked on those ads and they would go to my Facebook. That would be the only time I would pay for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
And you can set how much you're going to pay, and we'd put it like at 90 cents a hit or something like that. So it was really cheap advertisement.
Nice. And it worked, obviously.
Yeah. So that, and then I think the cases I prosecuted over the years certainly had something to do with it, because I got a lot of media exposure. Because they were high-profile cases.
What cases might that be?
Well, we had the Gilbert case, the associate vice president at CSN. That I convicted in August for 11 counts of theft.
Was that the one that was taking construction materials to build a house up in Mount Charleston?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about a $1.5 million home up at Mount Charleston. And then we had, of course, the Janet Moncrief case that was the first case that I did when I first started up the unit for then General Sandoval. She was the former Las Vegas City Councilwoman that we indicted for filing false campaign contribution
And then
reports.
she ran again.
I don't think she did. I think she left because Lois Tarkanian took her place, was appointed to appoint her. I never heard of Janet Moncrief.
I thought she ran again with, and then also Stupak also ran.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't recall that. And then I had the other case, Dr. Bass. He's the first doctor, I believe, in the country that has been convicted of murder. He was the one that was illegally selling prescription drugs here, and his patient overdosed. And so that was a 2-week trial, and convicted him of 1 count of second-degree murder and 56 counts of drug-related crimes. So he got convicted on 57 felonies. So we've had some pretty good cases.
I see you're opposed to the SJR2. Why is that?
SJR2.
That's the one that elect the judges instead of appointed the judges to the seats.
Oh no, I was in. Well, I'm opposed to appointing judges. Right. I think that people ought to be able to elect.
Right. I agree
judges.
with you. I agree with you.
I think that that's something that citizens should have the ability to do. And I know there's some debate what method is best method, but I think if we go to an appointment system, what you're going to end up with are just those people that have the political juice to get appointed to the bench. I certainly don't have a lot of political juice. At least I don't think I do. And so,
at least not yet.
Well, perhaps, but and so people who want to be elected as a judge, I think they've got a better chance at going to the voters and letting them decide.
So no attorneys gave any money to you. In fact, you had no fundraising.
That's correct. I had a policy. I would not take any money from any attorneys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about laying a foundation for his future.
So how attorneys are going to win their case against you?
Well, that's go back.
Well, they're just going to have the evidence and the facts and the law on their side.
So basically, you're looking at a long term, being in Nevada for quite a while, because it sounds to me like you're really laying your foundation to be here for a good amount of time.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a fourth generation Hafen.
Okay.
I grew up in Utah, but I got a lot of relatives and cousins down here in southern Nevada. Spent a lot of time in the summer here in southern Nevada. So, we've lived in Nevada for 22 years total, 12 of those years here in Las Vegas. But yeah, no, I intend to be here for a long time.
Do you want to explain to the listeners exactly what a Justice of the Peace does? And I know that Department 14 is a brand new seat. And you're the first one to become elected in that seat. And could you, just so everybody understand exactly what your duties are.
Well, a Justice of the Peace is a court of limited jurisdiction. They hear arraignments, criminal arraignments. They do preliminary hearings. For the first year, at least, I will be doing a civil calendar, which is landlord-tenant evictions, debt creditor collection type cases. Other civil type cases, some mortgage related type cases.
So you're going to be busy for quite a while.
I think so. Yeah.
With the economy the way it is, how would you be more to the defendant or to the plaintiff?
Oh well, it's going to be based on the law and the facts. And I'm a believer, especially when it comes to constitutional law, that we follow the founder's intent. A judge shouldn't legislate from the bench.
Right.
The judge applies the law,
okay,
and doesn't create law.
Okay.
So that's been my philosophy.
Well, let's take a commercial break. This is Steve Sanson and Deborah Vick with Veterans in Politics, and we will be back momentarily with Conrad Hafen, the newly elected Justice of the Peace with Department 14.
Oh, yeah.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Veterans in Politics International. The Veterans in Politics mission is to teach, educate, organize, and awaken our veterans and their families to select, support, and vote intelligently for a better world, and to protect ourselves from our own governments and a culture of corruption, and to be the political voice for those in other groups that do not have one.
There are too many homeless veterans, and more help is needed from the VA. Every veteran service organization post should adopt a local homeless veteran.
The funding of VA medical centers is inadequate, and building a VA hospital in southern Nevada is moving at a slow pace. The budget has been flatlined for too many years. The VA is too quick to deny claims and too slow to help veterans gather records in support of claims.
Local politicians ignore veterans and their issues. They perceive a lack of organization among their local veterans, and that it won't hurt them at election time. Veterans too often vote party, not veteran issues. All veterans should vote in every election.
The news media give inadequate coverage to veteran issues and events. You must send letters to the editor and voice this concern.
Please contact your members of Congress and Senate and urge them to co-sponsor key legislation in supporting our veterans.
Please support Veterans in Politics. And to get more information, go to www.veteransinpolitics.com.
Are you a business owner struggling during these economic times? Please listen up. How would you like to put your business and services in front of every resident and business in the Las Vegas Valley for less than a penny per home? Yes, that's right. I said less than 1 cent per home and business. And how would you like to have a dynamic and exciting online presence with the major search engines? How about an online video for your business and a fully optimized website with absolutely no setup fee? Hi, my name is George. If you are interested in these and other services that can make your phone ring with clients and prospects, then call me at 702-296-8394. Just call George at 702-296-8394. Thank you.
This is Alexia,
Sierra, and Calypso
from the curvaceous bounty of Sin City.
You know that we...
This is Jim Jonas asking you to listen to Veterans in Politics. Veterans in Politics is a weekly broadcast internet talk show hosted by myself, Jim Jonas, and Steve Sanson, president of Veterans in Politics Incorporated. That airs every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at www.vegasallnetradio.com. Veterans in Politics' sole purpose is to teach, educate, and inform veterans on issues and the candidates that will affect them. Too many politicians say they support veterans and their issues, but their actions tell a different story. Here at Veterans in Politics, we will expose these politicians by giving them a chance to come in and explain their actions to veterans so veterans can truly make informed decisions. Listen every Saturday to stay informed and to hold politicians accountable for their votes.
Okay, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Deborah Vick for Veterans in Politics. We have live in studio newly elect Judge Conrad Hafen for Department 14, Justice of the Peace. Conrad, how you doing, sir?
Very good.
Conrad, could you tell us where they're going to put you? Because that regional justice center looks like it's all filled up.
And also,
it is.
When are you going to actually start? What's your first date?
Well, my starting date's January 3rd. That's when I take the bench.
Right around the corner.
But for Department 13 and 14, our chambers are going to be on the second floor. And what they've had to do is take...
Second floor?
Yeah.
Where on the second floor?
It's just right there where the clerks are. I guess they took a couple of filing rooms, and they're converting those into chambers. And then my courtroom I'm going to be sharing with Ann Zimmerman up on the 8th floor. Ann Zimmerman is another JP, and so she's going to do her criminal calendar in the morning.
Is she happy about that?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I think they understand the logistics of what's going on.
The absolute need in this town for that.
Yeah, and so and then I'll go in the afternoon in the same courtroom on the 8th floor and do the civil calendar.
Do you want to see any policies or procedures change?
You know, at this point, I want to wait till I get on the bench, see what's going on, because obviously as an attorney, you're on the outside looking in. And so I want to wait till I get on the bench, attend some of the court or the judges' meetings that they hold on a regular basis. And then at that point, when I see a need, then make a suggestion of maybe some changes.
Are you familiar with the Sailor Soldiers Act?
No.
Okay. Are you familiar that there's a veterans court that was passed in the last legislation, a specialty court for veterans?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar that you're supposed to ask a defendant if they are a veteran?
Now, I'm not sure if you have to do that at the justice court level or if it's at the district court level.
It's at all levels.
Okay.
All
right.
I just want to make sure that you're familiar with that, Judge.
Yeah, no, I and it's been a while since I've looked at the statute, but I remember that coming up and that it was passed. And but like I say, if I'm doing a civil calendar, that's not going to be an issue.
Okay, so it's just civil calendar. That's
at least for the first year.
Well, you're dealing with people who are losing their homes. They've been fighting with the banks for now multiple years. Not, our 1-year anniversary has passed. So you're dealing with, veterans that are losing their homes as well as, so many other Nevadans out there.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you gotten yourself up to speed as to what's happening, or pretty much when you start on the 3rd?
Pretty much when I started on the 3rd. I've been reviewing those civil statutes because, like I said, it's going to be a new area of law for me. And I've been going in and watching some of the other JPs, how they do their calendar, their civil calendar. But yeah, it's an issue. But again, as a judge, I'm obligated to follow the law, and make my rulings based on the facts and the evidence in front of me.
Well, be it that I've been on the ground on the front line, being on the bank side as well as then working with attorneys to help the homeowners. I've really enjoyed the fact that the legal community has gotten involved in this because it was basically just ran by the banks, and the banks did whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing we have someone like you.
Thank you.
Stepping up.
Thank you.
So, have you picked your team yet?
I have. Judge Abatangelos, JEA, is going to come over and work with me on January 3rd.
Who's that?
Angela.
Angela.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I've put my pick in for a marshal, and then they've already signed me a clerk. So there's only going to be three folks with me. That will be pretty much my staff.
Wow. Have you been fitted?
I have. In fact, they did that, I think it was the second day after the election. I went over because I had to do some paperwork and things like that. And then they measured me for my robe and everything.
So you didn't have a debt recovery party, did you?
No. We were kind of talking a little bit about that the other day.
Really?
In the office, because I had to use I think I used $100 or $200 of my own money. Uh-huh. And so I was thinking I'd invite people and ask them to contribute a nickel each.
Right. That's hilarious.
That's funny. There's a lot of speculation as to why your opponent lost. Some of the speculation was that he was the Clark County Republican chairman, and that kind of upset the Democrats a little bit because he made some statements on the news, and they kind of pushed them back. And the Tea Party movement was a little bit annoyed with him as well. So that's probably what happened. We don't know, but it seems to me that maybe he should have ran for something partisan instead of nonpartisan.
Yeah, and I can't really comment on that. I mean, that was Bernie's choice. We both ran clean campaigns.
Right,
There was no mudslinging, and I want to compliment Bernie on that. And I know he thanked me as well. And I've known him for several years, right. And he's a good man. He's a good attorney, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Okay. Well, Conrad, do you have anything else you want to say to listeners out there?
Other than I just intend to continue to work hard so that I can uphold the trust of the people of Clark County that voted for me. I appreciate that, and we'll just do the best I can.
All right. How could people get a hold of you?
Well, they can call me there at the Regional Justice Center at 671-3100.
Okay. Yeah. Conrad, once again, congratulations.
Thanks,
and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays,
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
New Year.
And thanks for coming out this Saturday
to
talk
Deborah.
to us.
And thank you so much.
You
That's Conrad Hafen, the newly elected Justice of the Peace for Department 14. This is Steve Sanson and Deborah Vick. Deborah, you got something to say? Okay. We'll be back momentarily with the Veterans in Politics show, and we're going to have Jennifer Barrier.
Veterans in Politics takes a proactive approach to provide you, the veteran, with the political voice for which you fought and served.
Veterans in Politics is becoming the premier veteran organization of the 21st century, with political candidate interviews, insight, and endorsements.
Public speaking engagements in support of American values.
Radio shows to keep you updated on the latest in veteran and military support operations.
Providing job placement and business support.
Go to veteransinpolitics.com today and do your part in defending liberty.
Americans have been fooled by politicians about illegal immigration. They make you think that if you bring up this topic, you are a racist. Did you know that America is the only country on this planet that does not enforce its federal immigration laws? For the fear of being called a racist. I am for legal immigration. I was born on the island of Jamaica, became an American citizen, served 12 years in the U.S. military, served in Desert Storm, and received a Presidential Unit Citation, National Defense Medal, and Marine Corps Commendation. Our immigration laws serve a purpose. I understand that this country was founded on immigration, but there is a wrong way and a right way. I'm here to tell you that illegal immigration is breaking our federal laws. Why don't you call me a racist? This is Steve Sanson.
And we are back. This is Steve Sanson and Deborah Vick with Veterans in Politics. Deborah, what do you think about Conrad?
You know what? We absolutely needed his seat to be open, and our state really does a lot. And people, I don't think, realize that. I know a lot of people complain, but with people like you and myself shouting out saying, hey, we need this, it's neat to see movement happen, and especially for that part of Nevada, we absolutely need, we need this.
And they say that these judges already are overloaded with casework.
And I actually like the fact that he doesn't know the mortgage industry, because I'll speak out. Those banks have been getting away with murder. I definitely have seen it from their point of view and the homeowner's point of view, and we need that. We need that patrolling. The police officer to say, hey, but we need judges to say stop it and keep the contracts legit.
Legit contracts.
Go figure.
Go figure. All right, we have Jennifer Barrier, who's the author of The Life of Buffalo Jim Barrier. Jennifer, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming out this Saturday.
Yeah. Could you give us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, I grew up here in Las Vegas, was born and raised, of course. And when I was 17, I moved to Seattle and lived out in Seattle for a good 7 years. And then, unfortunately, my father passed away, and it drew me back to moving to Las Vegas again. So this is where I am.
You are the daughter of a very colorful man, Buffalo Jim Barrier, who was a very dear friend to me and passed away a couple years ago, right?
Yes.
And there was some speculation on what took place, how he died. What's your input on this?
Well, this has been. I mean, the reason my mother and I moved to Seattle was because of this. In 1998, my father was in a big feud with the owner of that strip club, the Crazy Horse 2, and we couldn't take it anymore in 2001. So
Rick
my mother
Rizzolo.
and I, yes, and so my mother and I decided to move to Seattle because she has family out there. So that's how we got away. So it completely destroyed our family. It tore us apart. Frankly, I've always respected my father for what he did, but it definitely took a toll over our lives at a young age. So as living in Seattle, I did school up there, and then I opened a business in 2007, a skincare clinic, and was doing very, very well. And then, of course, he passed away April 2008. And so I was drawn back to moving down here to Las Vegas. And one thing my dad he would ask me quite often, actually. He said, if anything were to ever happen to me, would you be there? And, no doubt, I'm like, yeah, Dad, I'd always be there for you. And when this did happen, I had so much going on in my life and was becoming very successful at a young age in Seattle. And I was just thinking, I have to give up everything in Seattle now to stand for my dad. And I didn't know where it was going to take me. Of course, death threats were lingering my life. Calls and emails and texts, and so I had to make a big decision. Am I gonna, stay with the successful life now that I'm making tons of money in Seattle, or do I give that up and stand for my dad? And back in my head, I told my dad I'd always be there for him, not because he was my father, but because he was an admirable person. He was a very, very genuine person, and all that he had gone through was just, it was a terrible thing,
So your dad was in confrontation with Rick Rizzolo, who was the owner of Crazy Horse. Was it 2, right? Crazy Horse 2. And your dad won $1 million, didn't he?
He was awarded $1 million, but never received it. He was supposed to get that $1 million after that owner, Rick, got out of prison. See, he was indicted to prison in April 2007 and got a year and a day in prison because
what was he indicted for?
For tax evasion, racketeering charges, IRS tax fraud. So he went to prison, and they gave him a plea bargain agreement that if he gives up his club, he would only get that year and day. So
Right.
of course he did that, and then he got out of prison, and 2 days later, my dad was found dead of a cocaine overdose in a Motel 6.
Do you think that was coincidence?
Absolutely. He, 2 days before he passed away, I was talking to him, and ironically enough, I had taken a week off of work to drive down to California on a road trip because I work so many hours in Seattle. When you own a business, that's what you typically do. You work a lot. So I took a week off that weekend to go down to California. So I was talking to my dad April 4th, 2008, and I said, hey, I'm going to California to Knott's Berry Farm. Do you want to meet me there? And he said, kid, I now have to watch out. And I was like, for what? He's like, Rick just got out of prison. I now have to watch out. And my entire life of knowing him, he's never expressed fear a day in his life. So for him to say, I now have to watch out, I was a little concerned. And so definitely it was a setup. He said if they would ever get him, they're going to drug him. And what the case came out to it being that they drugged him, or he was found dead of a cocaine overdose.
So do you believe Rick Rizzolo was involved in organized crime?
I do believe he was involved in organized crime. I believe it was a get-out-of-jail present for him.
So don't you think I'm playing devil's advocate. If he could have gotten your dad, couldn't he have done it behind bars as well?
That's interesting. My dad would always say that they were never going to leave a mark on his body. Because I would ask him, I'm like, how do you think they're ever going to get you if they get you? He's like, well, they're never going to leave a mark. They're never going to stab me, shoot me.
So do you think that this was personal for Rick? He had to actually been there if a murder was committed. He had to actually been and seen it for himself. I
believe it was, I don't believe he was there from my sources, but I believe it was his key people, his key players, I guess you can say, that made sure this happened.
Well, why don't you walk us through why your dad was involved with Crazy Horse 2?
See, he moved to Vegas here in 1971, on a mission to make money and to, be in Vegas. It was very glamorous at that time with all the bright lights. And he came here and made a name for himself. He was very good at mechanics, so he opened his shop. And I want to say, I think it was 7 years later, the Crazy Horse 2 moved in right next door to him. And in 98, that's when everything started to heat up, where Rick and the Crazy Horse was making tons of money. And he wanted my dad gone. He wanted him to just leave.
What do you think that is, to expand his business?
To expand his operation there.
Take us to how your dad became such a
icon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Deborah.
It's just to me,
because I know he was involved with the wrestlers for the at the time WWF wrestling.
Yeah.
So why don't you walk us a little bit through that?
Yeah, he always had an interest in wrestling. So when I was younger, he started to befriend a few wrestlers like The Undertaker. His real name is Mark, and a few other guys, like a guy named Papa Shango. That was his wrestling name. His real name is Charlie. But he started to befriend those guys and started to find out that kind of fits his lifestyle, his personality. He's a true character. He was a very interesting person. So he just started to get involved that way, and they just liked him a lot. So they wanted him, actually the WWF wanted him to travel with them, but yet he didn't like to travel so much. He loved to stay in Vegas with his family. So he never did that. So then that's when he created Buffalo Wrestling Federation and wanted to do something good for Las Vegas, to bring people together and get people involved in wrestling that way.
Did you think about continuing his dream?
I have, yeah. Wow. To keep up with him, I don't know how he did it,
Right.
But I definitely have a lot of characteristics of my father. I do. I mean, I'm not him, but I have a lot of him. And so it's going to be interesting to see what I do in life. But I did have to write this book about his life. That's one of my goals. That was one of my goals in the beginning, is to write a book, because it consumed me.
Share with us that experience of actually doing with your pen to paper.
Oh my gosh. I had to get away from Las Vegas. So I moved to Maui, Hawaii.
Well, that's a good place to go.
Yeah, I have an aunt who lives out there, and she said, come on out. And
Beautiful.
So went out there and just wrote. Just kept writing. And
how long did it take you?
6 months, exactly.
All right, so you just focused solely on getting that information on paper.
Yeah, and I had a job too. I was working at a coffee shop, actually, because I'm the type of person, I have to be around people. I always have to be working and doing something. So I was working full time at a coffee shop, and then of course on my off time writing about everything that happened. And I have a lot of evidence still that that I had brought forth to make this book happen. So,
has your book been published?
No, not yet. I still have it. I'm still modifying it a little bit, but no, I haven't found a publisher yet.
What's the name of it?
Well, I haven't clearly put a name on it yet, but it's definitely going to be something, The Life of Buffalo Jim, of course.
When you plan on publishing this book?
Within a year.
Okay. What kind of evidence do you have? Apparently, your family and close friends think that your dad was murdered. What kind of evidence do you have to support that allegation?
Well, after he passed away, I'm again the type of person that I'm like, I have to find out the proof for myself. Although my dad said they were gonna get him, they could. It's a possible chance. He now has to watch out. And so when this went down, when this happened, I went undercover on Boulder Highway and started to talk to people. And
explain why you went on the cover on Boulder.
I had to know the truth. I wanted to know what happened. Everything.
So you would go out at night, and
day
just
and
kinda
night,
hang
just
out
randomly. I had a bodyguard. Actually, I had a friend in Seattle who paid this gentleman to be my bodyguard, and he was an ex-Air Force officer.
Okay,
Air Force officer is a bodyguard.
Yeah, he was
Calm
an
down,
MP.
Steve.
Yeah,
Calm down, Mr. Marine.
Yeah, so it was great to have. I had to have him around. You know me. So
I agree.
I went on Boulder Highway and just talked up a storm, and I never told anybody who I was. I didn't say I was the daughter, and I had to just console my own self because I couldn't cry in front of people. I had to be tough, and I would just ask people questions like, "Do you know what happened to that man named Buffalo Jim?" And people told me. People told me over and over again what happened, and it was the same story. It was confirmed to me by many, many people.
Did you have your own independent investigators that went around to try to find evidence of a murder?
Yeah, we did hire one private investigator, but he ended up being crooked.
What's his name?
I shouldn't say, but
how long did it take for you to find out he was?
Oh, I found out very cool. He took our money right away, and so. But I'm a truth seeker. I was like, well, maybe he'll help me. Maybe not. Right. I'm kind of like, I don't give my trust to everyone. So I certainly didn't give my trust to him, but I paid him.
Right.
And he was just making up stories like Rick Rizzolo contacted me and wants to meet with me personally. I'm like, why does he want to meet with you?
Right.
And he never presented any evidence. I was finding all the evidence. And so, yeah, he ended up being not so good. But I did find out more information from a few sources letting me know what went on and how there still is evidence being, tightly held in a vault somewhere here in Las Vegas that it has not been shared.
So why didn't Rick Rizzolo just evict your dad? Apparently he owns that part of the building that your dad is conducting his business out of.
Yeah, he did try to evict him, but my dad was locked into a 30-year lease from the prior owner. He had passed away, but he liked my dad so much.
Was he grandfathered in?
Yes, so he was grandfathered in, and and it's not like he tried to offer my dad anything to move. My dad had a successful auto repair shop. You don't just tell somebody to leave.
What's going on with that business now?
Well, we had to give it up. There was no way I was able to juggle all this all at once, and I was the one. I have younger sisters that I actually changed my number at the time and told them not to contact me because I thought something was going to happen to me. So I made sure that they weren't in the middle of this so nothing would happen to them. And we just had to give up my dad's business. And one of my dad's old mechanics kind of under wing, changed the name, of course, and he operates his auto repair shop out of there.
So the actual location is still an auto?
Yeah, it's called like Old Time Auto or something. He changed the name.
Are you going after the $1 million that Rick owes your dad?
I found out, I think it was 4 months after he passed away, they squashed it so that we could never go after it.
What about your dad's attorney, Robert Luke? Is he going to pursue this matter as far as a wrongful death or murder or anything like that is concerned?
Personally, he's scared, just like many other people. He knew my dad was murdered, and he didn't know what to do about it. He was emotionally just in distress about it, kind of like we all were, but there was nothing legally he wanted to pursue about it.
So what did the coroner have to say, Mike Murphy?
Well, I've met with him many, many times, and, I really like Coroner Murphy. I really do. I think as a person, he's a nice guy, but he's been involved in so much that he won't tell me the truth. He said he admires me, and it's not his fault. It's Metro's fault. That's the last time I spoke to him was about a year ago, and he did say that to me. And they just tried to push me away. They just tried to push me away. They told me that Coroner Murphy said, "Well, I have a son, and I just want you to watch out." And I said, "Well, why do I need to watch out if my dad just killed himself in a Motel 6 within an hour of leaving the house?" I mean, and it wasn't even like he killed himself. It was a cocaine overdose. How does that happen? It just doesn't happen right away.
So they're saying it was an accidental overdose?
Yes.
Does your dad use drugs?
No, when he was younger, yes. When he was younger, he did experiment with some drugs, illicit drugs, but it was... No, he didn't do it.
Well, he was in the 70s.
It was in the 70s. After he started having children, or prior to having children, he stopped all that. I can honestly say that in my entire life of knowing my father, I've never seen him smoke a cigarette or drink a beer.
So how was the cocaine induced?
It was induced through, from what I understand, it was induced through needle.
Okay.
And that's what caused the pulmonary embolism to stop his heart.
There was also reports saying that there was a lady with your dad. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, this woman named Lisa, she used to be a stripper for the Crazy Horse too, actually.
Isn't that a coincidence?
Such a coincidence. And she role-played the entire deal, and she was set in the mix. I read her transcripts at the police station, and she lied on multiple different times. Like, she made no sense. She said that, she wanted to meet with him and to discuss a sale of a motorcycle because she had a friend in town from Arizona, and she wanted to help that guy sell a motorcycle. And she also said that they were at the Texas station when called my dad, and so that's how she said that my dad got out of the house that night. But from what my sister says, my dad left the house because he was meeting people about a sale of memorabilia. Apparently there were some big investors in town, and that's how they enticed him to meet with them at that time. So, I mean, the story is not clear with her. It's never been. Her transcripts make no sense, and she was she's a key verdict of the case.
So she was actually there, or she wasn't there?
She says she was there, but we don't know.
And what did her transcript read like?
She said that she met with him. Well, she said that initially that she was meeting him. She wanted him to meet that guy, that gentleman with the motorcycle, and then she said she met him at a Chevron on Charleston, and that she hopped in his car, and my dad pulled out a big sack of cocaine. And she kept going on and on about how she doesn't like to drive with him because then he has control over the matter, and she just doesn't want to do that, but yet she's in the car with him. And then she said they directly went to the Motel 6, and she said that she wanted to walk over to the 7-Eleven across the street to get something to drink, and my dad said he wouldn't let her go over there, and so she waited, and he checked in, and then she said, I mean, it goes on and on. It really made no sense. And
what was your dad doing in Motel 6? Why didn't he just go home?
Exactly. He had a really nice home, and he wouldn't be at a Motel 6. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, maybe, but no, he would not be at a Motel 6.
Did they find any other drugs in his body, or did they find any type of long-term use of cocaine?
No. And the
so
detective,
apparently this was a one-time deal?
Yeah, the detective, I said, do a hair test because I can guarantee you my dad does not do drugs. And they could tell through hair sampling, doing that. So
did they do that?
No, they didn't. He said he was gonna, but then they did not do that.
So what was Metro's decision on this whole thing?
Well, they kept trying to play good cop, bad cop with me. I was in meetings, and
I saw that movie.
Oh man, it was brutal. And I was in meetings, and they just kept saying they were trying to shut me up. They said, "Don't talk to the media. Be quiet. Why don't you just give it up and move back to Seattle?" I mean, just those
Metro
were all, of
kept
course,
telling you this?
Yeah, detective, a sergeant.
Why do you think they wanted to silence you?
Because I was telling the truth and I was finding core evidence.
So do you think Metro is absolutely part of this?
Absolutely. When I met with Sheriff Gillespie, he just started to bead sweat off his forehead. I was invited to a retirement party.
You think the sheriff was scared of you, or was he scared of Rick?
I believe he's friends with Rick, so he was probably a little worried that I was around him, especially around other people as well, so that if he ever said anything, it would be heard.
All right, let's take a commercial break, and we'll be back. This is Steve Sanson and Deborah Vick, Veterans in Politics, and we'll be back momentarily with Jennifer Barrier.
This is Jim Jonas asking you to listen to Veterans in Politics. Veterans in Politics is a weekly broadcast internet talk show hosted by myself, Jim Jonas, and Steve Sanson, president of Veterans in Politics Incorporated, that airs every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at www.vegasallnetradio.com. Veterans in Politics' sole purpose is to teach, educate, and inform veterans on issues and the candidates that will affect them. Too many politicians say they support veterans and their issues, but their actions tell a different story. Here at Veterans in Politics, we will expose these politicians by giving them a chance to come in and explain their actions to veterans so veterans can truly make informed decisions. Listen every Saturday to stay informed and to hold politicians accountable for their votes.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Veterans in Politics International. The Veterans in Politics mission is to teach, educate, organize, and awaken our veterans and their families to select, support, and vote intelligently for a better world, and to protect ourselves from our own governments and a culture of corruption, and to be the political voice for those in other groups that do not have one.
There are too many homeless veterans, and more help is needed from the VA. Every veteran service organization post should adopt a local homeless veteran.
The funding of VA medical centers is inadequate, and building a VA hospital in southern Nevada is moving at a slow pace. The budget has been flatlined for too many years. The VA is too quick to deny claims and too slow to help veterans gather records in support of claims.
Local politicians ignore veterans and their issues. They perceive a lack of organization among their local veterans, and that it won't hurt them at election time. Veterans too often vote party, not veteran issues. All veterans should vote in every election.
The news media give inadequate coverage to veteran issues and events. You must send letters to the editor and voice this concern.
Please contact your members of Congress and Senate and urge them to co-sponsor key legislation in supporting our veterans.
Please support Veterans in Politics. And to get more information, go to www.veteransinpolitics.com.
Are you a business owner struggling during these economic times? Please listen up. How would you like to put your business and services in front of every resident and business in the Las Vegas Valley for less than a penny per home? Yes, that's right. I said less than 1 cent per home and business. And how would you like to have a dynamic and exciting online presence with the major search engines? How about an online video for your business and a fully optimized website with absolutely no setup fee? Hi, my name is George. If you are interested in these and other services that can make your phone ring with clients and prospects, then call me at 702-296-8394. Just call George at 702-296-8394. Thank you.
Well, we're back. This is Steve Sanson with Deborah, the banker, Vick, with Jennifer Barrier, talking about her dad, Buffalo Jim Barrier. Jennifer.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello. Jennifer, I have to give you huge props. This is nothing. I can't even think of a word to describe what you've gone through, number one. And most people would just say, forget it. And you've already moved on with your life. So what in your life, what happened to, yes, you gave your father a promise. That's one thing. But there had to have been something else going on to actually make you snap and say, I can do this. What was that?
My dad had such a kindred heart, and, I think he gave that to me, and when this all happened, I knew this was going to happen someday, and I just had to be strong. I just kept telling myself, you just have to be strong through thick and through thin. You'll persevere if you just move forward. Always keep moving forward. Don't go backwards. Don't stay still. Don't be stagnant. Go.
Right.
Kind of like if you're running a race, you better go if you want to make it to the finish line first.
So you decided to run the race.
Yeah, I did. And, in the beginning, I said there has to be no finish line to this. There has to be. But then I figured out that I have to say there is a finish line, and it starts right now.
There you go.
And I just had to think positive thoughts and to get on with my life. I truly did. And I had to find a place in my heart to forgive everyone who did this to my father. I don't know who they all are. I have an idea, but I don't care who they are.
Right.
But I had to figure a place in my heart to forgive. And that's what I believe made me a stronger person as well.
Well, absolutely commend you for that.
Thank you.
What does the district attorney have to say, Jennifer?
David Roger. I've never really had a face-to-face conversation with him. I'm involved with a Las Vegas Republican woman, and I saw him at about last month. Last month I saw him, and I just don't bring it up anymore. I just don't bring up my dad anymore. Now that I finished writing the book, I'm at peace, and everything's always gonna make it to the light. There's always light when you wake up. There's always going to be. And so he just, of course, avoided the whole situation from the get-go. It was covered up. There were a few people paid to shut me up in the beginning to try to tell me, don't do this. What are you thinking? You know, this is going to cost your life. I mean, there was all these indications and all these people trying to really tell me that. And I had to look past that because I really did fear for my life in the beginning. I said, oh my gosh, I got to live for this now? Like, no way. This can't be true. And reality has struck, and it was true. And oh man, it was just, I'm really blessed. I say it every day. I'm blessed.
So once the book is published, what are you trying to accomplish?
Once the book is published, I hope that this will be a movie because I think people will see it and in a different light. I mean, it's a story that needs to be told, and it's hard to fathom the thought of going through it, and that's why I think the story in the book is going to be real great for people to see. It's interesting, to say the least. Do you visit your dad's funeral regularly, or? I've been a few times, but I send flowers more frequently. Mm-hmm. No doubt I miss him. And there's not a week that goes by that I don't wonder. I wonder what it would be like if he was here, especially during times like now with the holidays here. Right, exactly. I really wish he was here. He was truly a great person. And forever, if I ever get married or have kids, I'm still going to wonder what it would be like if he was there. So, but yeah, it's hard. But I don't visit his funeral regularly because I'm at peace with him. And after I wrote that book, I walked away. I turned the other direction and I just threw my towel up.
Let me ask you something. Why would you think that your dad was murdered? What would be the first clue besides the death threats that your dad said that he had? What do you think? I mean, why would a whole city cover this thing up if it was murder? There's a lot involved here. He was owed that $1 million, as we mentioned. He, of course, this feud, as you mentioned, and also he let it be known to the public that he was running for mayor in 2011. He actually had in the RJ, thank heaven for 2011, Nevada's next colorful mayor, Buffalo Jim. So that's a reason in itself. If people don't like him, don't like what he stands for, they don't want him.
What did he stand for?
Truth. He was a truth seeker. He was, he wanted to do good things for the city. And he always have. I mean, he always had, and especially going back to his wrestling school, he always just wanted to make it a fun city and bring people here.
Your dad ran for assembly at one particular time, didn't he?
He did. It was very interesting that he did. He just called me up one day and said, guess what? I'm running for office. I'm like, what are you running for? Assembly. And I think he just wanted to do something good and, kind of like get his foot in the door, per se. And he did run. He did kind of take it seriously, though.
Well, I hope so.
He had his little, he had his posters everywhere, and oh my gosh, that was funny. But I truly think if he was in office, this would be such a peaceful town, and a fun town.
Well, what do you got to say to those people out there that may or may not have covered up this murder?
Well, I just let everybody know that this is real. What happened is real. And what didn't come to the surface, I hope does someday. Because there's still all this evidence out there floating in the clouds that still needs to rain upon this town. I think a lot of people, there's not a month that goes by that somebody doesn't ask me, has justice been served? Do you know anything else yet? So I'm always being asked questions. Even by people I don't even know. I'll run into someone and they say, I know your face. And, oh, you're that guy, Buffalo Jim's daughter. So it's interesting. I'm always being asked questions. And I just wish that those questions can just be brought out to the surface so that people have clarification.
In his auto shop, he had a lot of memorabilia and photos. What happened with all that stuff that was in there?
Well, we still have a lot of it, but we do. We still have a lot of it. It's in storage.
Are you planning to open up some type of shop, maybe to sell them all off or anything like that?
Well, people have asked me, but we haven't just thought of. I mean, we've thought about it a few times, but we hadn't done it yet. all of my sisters kind of moved on with their lives. Like, I have two younger sisters, and they, one's, figuring out college right now, and the other one's a hairstylist, actually. And then my older sister, Jessica, has 4 kids. So they kind of just moved on, and I'm happy for them. And so they don't know what to do next. So if it was to happen, if we were to do this, then I would probably have to initiate it, and then we would make it happen.
If your dad was right here, what would you tell him?
If he was right here right now, I respect him.
Okay.
I respect everything, and I've learned a lot from him. Throughout the rest of my life, all the tools he gave me. My dad never financially gave me anything, but he always trained me. When I started my business in Seattle, he didn't give me the money to start it. He gave me the wisdom to start it, and he guided me through it. And that's how I got through being able to open that.
Well, Jennifer, thank you for coming on the show, and our condolence for your loss.
Thank you.
That's Jennifer Barrier. I'm talking about her dad, Buffalo Jim. This is Steve Sanson and Deborah Vick with Veterans in Politics. And don't go away, folks. We'll be back momentarily for our second hour of our Christmas special with Caroline Edwards, who's the Clark County School Board Trustee, District F.
Veterans in Politics takes a proactive approach to provide you, the veteran, with the political voice for which you fought and served.
Veterans in Politics is becoming the premier veteran organization of the 21st century, with political candidate interviews, insight, and endorsements.
Public speaking engagements in support of American values.
Radio shows to keep you updated on the latest in veteran and military support operations.
Providing job placement and business support.
Go to veteransinpolitics.com today and do your part in defending liberty.
While growing up, I've always asked my family, who is my father? I was told the name of a man. When I became older, I looked for this man and found him. He thought that I was his son as well, but after a DNA test, it was discovered that my family was lying to me all my life. I pressured my family to give me the real identity of my father. I then became suspicious and took my grandfather's DNA. After I buried my grandfather, 2 days later I discovered that my grandfather was in fact my biological father. I questioned myself and asked, what is my purpose on this earth? I should have never been conceived. But when I look at my 4 children, I knew that everything happens for a reason. This is Steve Sanson. Find your identity.
This is Jim Jonas asking you to listen to Veterans in Politics. Veterans in Politics is a weekly broadcast internet talk show hosted by myself, Jim Jonas, and Steve Sanson, president of Veterans in Politics Incorporated, that airs every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at www.vegasallnetradio.com. Veterans in Politics' sole purpose is to teach, educate, and inform veterans on issues and the candidates that will affect them. Too many politicians say they support veterans and their issues, but their actions tell a different story. Here at Veterans in Politics, we will expose these politicians by giving them a chance to come in and explain their actions to veterans so veterans can truly make informed decisions. Listen every Saturday to stay informed and to hold politicians accountable for their votes.